Hello and welcome back to Norty's Spooktacular Film Exaggeration Marathon. Well, we're in the 90s now, and if there's one thing 90s horror movies loved being, it was funny.
From Scream, to The People Under the Stairs, to Tremors, to Nothing But Trouble, to Cemetery Man, to Leprechaun, in the decade of irony, horror movies couldn't just be scary, they also had to satire the genre. Although that did seem to be dying down by 1999, with The Sixth Sense and The Blair Witch Project being two of the biggest hits of that year.
But there was still some time left for a silly little horror movie called Idle Hands.
Directed by Rodman Flender and written by Terry Hughes and Ron Milbaugh, Idle Hands isn't the most panned movie I've ever covered, receiving a 16% on Rotten Tomatoes and a 6.2 on IMDb. It's not even really brought up that much in conversations of terrible horror films. It was, however, a massive flop. On a budget of $25 million, it only brought in $4.2 million, which some have said is because of its release date only 10 days after the Columbine massacre, although I doubt it because in the week between the two, The Matrix was #1 at the box office, and if people weren't in the mood for gun violence, then they weren't showing it. Despite that, it has grown a bit of a cult following.
I've actually been interested to see this for a while, so let's see if Idle Hands was misunderstood 20 years ago.
We start with overly stylized opening credits because Seven was a huge hit a few years before. Shortly before Halloween, a married couple, played by Fred Ward and Connie Ray, are about to go to bed. And even worse, he knows what you did last summer. Turns out nothing is there and they think it's their son, Anton. But then they hear a crash.
The dog's out in the yard. It's probably just a cat.
Whether it was a cat or not, something's still broken. Go check it out!
Admittedly, I do kind of like this opening. It's pretty suspenseful, creatively shot, even has a decent cat jump scare. Plus, I am wondering if this is a prank or if there actually is someone in their house. Spoiler alert, it is a real murder and the two are killed. The hell, did he eat her? We then meet their son Anton, played by Devon Sawa, so you know we're in the 1997 to 2001 time period. Honestly, he looks scarily like Aaron Carter. He doesn't seem to notice the blood left over from his parents' murder, although it may just be because he's too high to notice. But he runs out of weed and heads over to his friend's place for more.
Yeah? If your mom had teeth, she wouldn't suck dick so well. What's your point?
Alright, that was a great line.
His friends are Nub, played by Eldon Henson, and Mick, played by Seth Green, who would later mock this movie on Robot Chicken.
Woo! I'm a pot-smoking corpse, bottle in my head, boo!
You know, I think these guys are pretty funny, but I'm just gonna say that if one of them doesn't call someone a faggot by the end of the movie, I'll be surprised. They just seem like those kind of characters.
I haven't seen my parents in a couple days.
Wait, that opening happened a couple of days ago? Okay, man, that not only gives you less reason to have not noticed the blood, but you should be scared. Shouldn't their works have called? Anton has a crush on Molly, played by Jessica Alba, and wants to ask her to the Halloween dance.
Oh man, she dropped her lyrics book.
Hey, she's gonna catch you reading that shit over her shoulder in biology class.
Oh, so he's a stalker. We then meet a woman named Debbie, played by Vivica A. Fox, looking for someone in a prison, but is disappointed when his hands are gone.
Holy shit, that was more force than the path of the giant claw.
Anton is then attacked by two cops.
Either you guys holding?
What?
Look, I'm desperate. I mean, I know you guys didn't get in the evidence room, so I was thinking
You asshole! You're trying to score from a cop?
All right. George found a new home.
Oh, these two are gonna die painfully. That night he tries to make pot out of oregano and nutmeg because Nub told him to. Don't listen to Eldon Henson. How do you think he lost his tongue? He hears something and after eating some blood he doesn't notice on a knife, he realized a killer must be in his house. You're a terrible guard dog. Instead of running out of the house, he stays inside and eventually finds what became of his parents.
That just doesn't seem like the reaction I would expect from someone who just found their parents' corpses. Also, the stench must be terrible.
Yep, we're definitely in the late 90s. They see a ripped piece of Anton's shirt in his mother's hand, plus this. Oh my god, Ant-Man is the killer! No, they think it's Anton, especially after finding the ears of 2 other victims in his food bag. Well, okay, this is a very hard time for everyone, and I think the best thing to do is talk it out calmly, go through their options, and... Or do that. It seems his right hand has a mind of its own and ends up killing Nub as well.
Everything's gonna be cool, man. Everything's gonna be...
Cool. Good throw. Okay. No matter how the rest of this movie turns out, that one scene made it all worth it.
The hand forces him to talk to Molly, and I have to say, Sawa's performance is fantastic. Not only does he look really scared, but physically his performance is great. Kind of Bruce Campbell levels.
I'm impressed. I never would have thought you'd have the balls to just grab me like that.
So what do you want, Hand? Do you want him to... Actually, I guess that would make sense.
You're kiki.
Okay, there is something seriously wrong with this girl. So after they do it, I guess, he heads back home and buries his parents and friends.
Nick?
Over here. Come on, man. I can't breathe down here. Anton?
Paul Conroy, is that you? No, both Nub and Mick are alive. Well, not alive, but awake.
And these chicks' voices, they were saying, "Come to us, come towards the light."
So what happened?
Oh, we figured, fuck it. I mean, it was really far.
I've said it before, I'll say it again. Ghosts and zombies are just the lazy people who couldn't make the trip. The special effects on Headless Nub are pretty good, although they don't seem that concerned with being dead. But for these 2 characters, that kinda makes sense. Anton goes to a fast food place to talk to some metal dude who might know something about the hand. But he refuses to talk to him, so he goes inside, where of course we get hijinks with the hand near all this dangerous shit.
Break time.
All right.
Yeah.
Was that Tom DeLonge?
Break time.
All right.
Yeah.
God damn it, guys. You got the lead singer of Blink-182 to cameo in your movie, and you had him say a word?
The metal guy tells him to keep his hand occupied.
Idle hands are the devil's playground.
So because he was lazy, the hand got possessed. I've heard of dumber reasons.
So what do you like, knit now?
Don't take this the wrong way, Anton, but you look really queer doing that.
Nah, close enough. The cops show up, and just as I predicted, he kills them. I don't think that's how tasers work. Alright, I know I'm overthinking this, but how heavy of a sleeper is Anton? His hand apparently killed several people while he was sleeping, and can no one track his DNA from the crime scenes?
These are questions I really don't give a shit about answering. That's not really what this movie is. It doesn't give a shit about plot holes or stuff like that. It just wants to be fun, and so far, it's succeeding.
Anton cuts off the hand and starts to bleed out as the 2 rush to get a first aid kit. He starts to pass out, but only temporarily as the hand is now free and running around the house.
They're creepy and they're kooky, mysterious and spooky. They're all together ooky, the Addams Family.
Was that too obvious? Whatever. He throws it in the microwave and nukes it, and that seems to do the trick. So he heads out with Molly to the dance. Although, you know what I'm wondering? Whatever happened to the dog and the cat?
Anton, we got antiseptic and adhesive bandages, the ouch-free kind.
You know, these two being zombies seems mostly pointless to this story. They free the hand and it escapes as Anton returns to learn that. As Debbie meets up with that metal guy, named Randy, she learns that it was Anton that has the possessed hand she's looking for.
Turn left!
So, were those two cops the only ones in town?
You know, we should check out the dance. I bet y'all win best costume, and chicks dig winners. I'll probably hook up.
Even if you could get a girl, you don't have enough blood flow to get an erection, so sex is completely out of the question.
They head to the dance, stealing Randy's truck. Debbie tries to stop them, but... that was the most over-the-top getting hit by a car scene ever. Don't worry, she's fine. But these two aren't, as they decide to have sex in a horror movie and now they must die. This is where the premise starts to lose me. How the hell can this thing kill them? The most it could do is strangle them, and in that case it's actually pretty threatening because it would be hard to grab and stabbing it or hitting it would be difficult. But how did it cause a blood splatter like that?
24 hours ago, I wanna be sedated.
Is that fucking Offspring?
This really is the most late 90s thing I have ever seen.
Grooving to Hanson and Jewel.
Don't you ever watch ER?
CPR, man. I saw it on Baywatch.
Nub dances with Molly's friend and the hand kills the principal. I'm not sure why. Like, I get it, it's evil, but spoiler alert, we learn later it wants Molly to send her to hell. So why waste time with the principal? Debbie meets Anton and tries to kill him, but then sees he already cut off his hand. Not sure how killing him would destroy the evil spirit in the hand, but okay.
Had your fun, now it's time.
I'm surprised no one thinks this is an elaborate prank. Anyway, Molly and her friend decide to go through the vent.
Why?
It doesn't end well as her friend gets cuts to ribbons in a fan. No, seriously, how the fuck did it do that? They can't even get it off the lever. How? It has nothing to push against. I seriously don't understand how this works. I could suspend my disbelief for a lot, but you're stretching it, movie.
There you go.
Yes, guys. Pot saved the day.
Debbie destroys the hand in a pretty anticlimactic ending, although the movie seems to acknowledge that.
That's it? No explosions? No hellfire? No...
Debbie goes off with Randy to have, in her words,
time for the ritualistic sex.
And Anton and Molly kiss under the car because they're idiots. Don't worry, he's alive and somehow isn't arrested for killing two cops and his parents. He's also an orphan. There's a lot of questions I have. Nub and Mick are his guardian angels, but suck at it. And then a year later, Anton changed his name, moved schools, got a prosthetic hand, and was about to go to Paris on a class trip, but saw that the plane was gonna blow up and got himself and some others off the plane. But that's another story.
No.
This isn't a great movie, but it was a fun movie. I can see why it has a cult following. There's a lot of funny lines, it never takes itself too seriously, but it does still have a good sense of suspense and dread. The acting is surprisingly good, it's well made, and it's so drenched in that late 90s culture that it's like looking into a time capsule. Although for me, it does get a little too much at the end. It feels like they didn't know where to go with this after he cut off his hand, so they just did whatever he wanted, whether it made sense or not, and then just had the characters make fun of how little it makes sense. Parts of it feel like an R-rated version of one of those 90s horror anthology shows like Goosebumps or Tales from the Crypt, and I kinda like that. It won't be for everyone, but I did enjoy this quite a bit. It's a nice 90s guilty pleasure.
So next time we jump to the 2000s with a critically panned remake of an Asian horror film. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.
That other fag,
Let's keep it clean.
Beethoven?